Have you ever wondered how some people maintain complete calm in situations that would make most of us furious? How they seem untouched by criticism, unfazed by conflict, and mysteriously at peace even when surrounded by chaos. There's a profound teaching from the DhammaMirror that says, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. This isn't just poetic wisdom. It's a psychological truth that has transformed countless lives, including that of former Apple CEO Steve Jobs, who credited Zen practice with helping him maintain clarity during some of his company's most turbulent public crises. Today, you'll discover an ancient secret to never being controlled by anger, a secret that has changed the lives of thousands of people from all walks of life. Not through suppression, not through avoidance, but through a profound transformation in how you perceive yourself and others. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about achieving true emotional freedom, the ability to choose your response rather than be driven by unconscious reactions. And it begins with understanding a simple truth. The flames of anger don't rise from others, they ignite from within. Zen and Buddhist philosophy offer us not just spiritual insights, but practical tools for navigating our emotional landscape. While these traditions have deep religious roots, the principles we'll explore today are universal, applicable regardless of your beliefs or background. Before we begin our journey, let's acknowledge where many of us find ourselves. You react quickly to criticism, feeling a burning sensation in your chest when someone challenges you. You replay arguments in your mind, thinking of what you should have said. You feel drained after interactions with certain people, as if they've somehow siphoned your energy. And despite your best intentions, you find yourself caught in the same emotional patterns again and again. Now imagine a different reality. You listen to criticism with genuine curiosity, neither defensive nor wounded. You respond to hostility with compassion, seeing the pain behind the attack. You maintain your center in chaotic environments, neither withdrawing nor becoming overwhelmed. And most importantly, you experience a profound inner peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. The bridge between these two states isn't willpower or emotional suppression. It's a fundamental shift in understanding, what Zen masters call seeing with new eyes. In this video, we'll explore 5 Zen principles illustrated through powerful stories, and conclude with practices you can begin implementing today. By the end, you'll have a clear path toward emotional freedom, not just a theoretical understanding, but practical tools for transforming your relationship with anger and reactivity. Our journey follows the path of a young monk learning from his master, a timeless story that mirrors the very journey you're about to undertake. The ordinary world, the invisible chains of anger. In a simple monastery surrounded by quiet air and flowing water, a student sat before his master. His face was tense, lips slightly bitten, and fists curled upon his knees. He had just returned from an interaction with a fellow practitioner who had harshly criticized him for a mistake he didn't commit. The master said nothing. He poured tea slowly, one drop at a time. The student watched the rising steam, but his breath was erratic. "Why didn't you defend yourself?" the master finally asked. "I was afraid I'd say something worse," the student replied, clenching his jaw. "Then you were angry?" "Yes, but I stayed quiet." "That was good," the master said. "But the fire still burned, didn't it?" The student nodded. "I don't understand why I still feel upset if I didn't speak it. I thought silence meant peace." The master smiled faintly. Silence of the tongue does not mean silence of the heart. If the storm still rages within, you're only swallowing thunder. Modern psychology confirms what this master understood centuries ago. Anger isn't just an emotion. It's a complex psychological and physiological response. When we feel threatened, criticized, or thwarted, our amygdala, the brain's alarm system, triggers a cascade of stress hormones preparing us for fight or flight. But what's fascinating is what triggers this response. It's rarely the event itself, but our interpretation of it. In Buddhist psychology, this is explained through the concept of the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. Delusion, or ignorance, is particularly important here. It's our fundamental misunderstanding of reality that creates suffering. When someone criticizes us, our mind immediately judges, "I don't deserve this," or "this is wrong," or "how dare they." These aren't just reactions. They're reflections of our attachments, expectations, and sense of self. Take a moment to reflect on your own patterns. When was the last time you felt angry? What expectations were violated? What part of your self-image felt threatened? Buddhism teaches that all suffering arises from attachment. When we attach to being seen a certain way, any insult becomes a sword. When we cling to being treated kindly, any rudeness becomes poison. When we believe people must behave as expected, life becomes a battlefield. The secret to never being angry or bothered is not to suppress irritation, it's to untangle the root. To no longer depend on others' actions for your inner balance. The call to adventure, seeing the mirror. Later that evening, the student returned to the garden. He found his critic watering the bamboo with quiet reverence. The very same person who had thrown careless words earlier now looked peaceful, serene, and unaware of the emotional storm he had caused. The student watched him. A strange thought arose. What if his harshness had nothing to do with me? The mind paused. What if his criticism came from his own pain? The pause grew longer. What if I was just the nearest object of his hurt, not the cause? This thought melted something inside. Not everything, but something. This insight reflects what psychologists call projection, the unconscious attribution of unwanted aspects of ourselves onto others. Carl Jung, who was deeply influenced by Eastern philosophy, noted that what irritates us about others can lead us to understand ourselves better. Modern research confirms this wisdom. A 2018 study from the University of California found that people who judge others harshly tend to have similar negative traits themselves. The loudest critics often fight battles with their own inner demons. When we see others as mirrors reflecting their own wounds, fears, or ignorance, anger begins to lose its target. We realize that their behavior reveals more about their inner landscape than about our worth. Try this exercise. Think of someone whose behavior consistently triggers you. Now imagine what pain, fear, or insecurity might be driving their actions. This isn't about excusing harmful behavior. It's about seeing it clearly, without the distortion of taking it personally. A powerful Zen story illustrates this principle. A traveler met a sage and asked, "What do I do when someone curses me unjustly?" The sage replied, "If a man offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong?" "To the giver," the traveler said. "Then let him keep his curses too." This is the core of Buddhist detachment, not rejection, not resentment, but refusal to absorb what does not belong to you. Anger arises when the mind takes everything personally. But what if nothing is personal? The sun shines equally on the kind and the cruel. The rain falls on all roofs. The wind brushes the flowers and the thorns alike. In nature, no action is interpreted, it just flows. The awakened one lives like this, not interpreting every word, not assigning intent, not constructing narratives. Free from assumption, the mind becomes clear, peaceful. Crossing the threshold, the power of letting go. One day, the student was scolded harshly by another elder for misplacing a tool. This time, something changed. He felt the familiar rise in his chest, the burning, but instead of acting, he paused. He watched the feeling like a witness watching fireflies from a distance. It flickered, it tried to pull him in, but he remained still. Then it passed. He had found the space between the spark and the fire. That space is choice. That space is awareness. That space is freedom. This space is what psychologists now call the stimulus-response gap, the interval between trigger and reaction where conscious choice becomes possible. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, considered this gap the essence of human freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Neuroscience shows that regular mindfulness practice actually strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function, while reducing activity in the amygdala, our threat detection system. This physiological change expands our stimulus-response gap, giving us more time to choose our response rather than react automatically. The Zen approach to creating this space is remarkably simple, though not always easy. It begins with the breath, our constant companion and anchor to the present moment. When you feel anger arising, try this practice. 1. Stop. Interrupt the automatic pattern by becoming aware of it. 2. Breathe. Take 3 conscious breaths, feeling the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. 3. Observe. Notice the physical sensations of anger without judgment, the heat, the tension, the energy. 4. Proceed. Choose your response from a place of awareness rather than reactivity. This practice doesn't deny the emotion. It creates space around it. In that space, you can see that you are not the anger. You are the awareness witnessing it. Another powerful Zen concept is illustrated by the student's question to his master the next morning. If someone throws mud at a river, does the river get angry? No, said the master. Why not? Because the river does not carry pride. Then is it weak? No, the master smiled. It is too vast to be wounded. The student realized his anger wasn't because of others. It was because he believed he was small. Anger often hides the truth of inner insecurity. The mind feels the need to protect itself because it believes it is fragile. But when one truly knows one's nature, vast, open, and timeless, words lose their sting. Insults lose their meaning. This is the essence of non-attachment in Buddhism, not indifference, but a profound understanding that your true nature needs no defense. Like the river, you can allow experiences to flow through you without being defined or diminished by them. Tests and allies, finding space and challenge. Another student mocked our protagonist for always yielding in confrontations. You are too soft, he said. You let people walk over you. To this, the master answered, who wins in a storm? The tree that resists or the reed that bends? True peace is not about proving your strength. It is about understanding your invincibility. One who knows their true nature lets go of being right, lets go of defending pride, and chooses calm over chaos. When you begin this practice of conscious non-reaction, you'll face tests. People accustomed to your old patterns will push harder, trying to elicit familiar responses. Your own mind will resist, offering compelling reasons to react as you always have. These challenges aren't obstacles, they're opportunities to deepen your practice. Each difficult interaction becomes a training ground for expanding your capacity for mindful response. In these moments, you need allies. The first and most reliable is your breath, always available, always grounding. The second is mindful awareness, the ability to observe your experience without being consumed by it. The third is community, others walking a similar path who understand and support your growth. A powerful practice during challenging interactions is what Zen calls beginner's mind, approaching each moment with curiosity rather than certainty. When someone criticizes you, instead of immediately defending or attacking, try asking yourself, what might I learn here? What truth, however small, might exist in this perspective? This doesn't mean accepting abuse or inappropriate behavior. Sometimes the wisest response is to set a clear boundary or remove yourself from a harmful situation. But even these actions can come from centered awareness rather than reactive anger. The student began to see every situation as a mirror, every criticism as a pointer, every emotional pain as a bell that rang to awaken him from unconsciousness. He noticed that people still acted unfairly, but the difference was he no longer gave them the authority to enter his mind. When anger tried to rise, he sat with it like an old friend. He didn't suppress it. He inquired, "What wound are you protecting? What fear are you hiding? What belief are you defending?" In this dialogue, anger became not an enemy, but a guide. It taught him what parts of himself were still bound, what parts still needed healing, what illusions still clouded his peace. And each time he answered, a knot untied. The reward, becoming like the sky. Years passed. The student became silent like the moon, firm like the mountain, flowing like the river. Insults came, they passed. Injustice came, it passed. Praise came, it passed too. He lived not for approval, not for revenge, not for proving anything. He lived with presence, and presence has no space for anger. One day, the student who once mocked him came in rage, flinging accusations and threats. The master looked into his eyes, breathed softly, and simply said, "I see your pain. May you be free from it." The angry student broke down in tears. No one had ever met his fire with water, his hate with peace. This is the power of not being bothered. You become a mirror so clear that others begin to see themselves in it. The path to never being angry or bothered is not about changing others. It is about changing your perception. Anger arises when expectations clash with reality. Peace arises when reality is accepted as it is. Don't try to silence others. Don't try to avoid difficult people. Don't try to be tough. Instead, become like the sky. The sky allows every storm, yet remains untouched. It lets the birds fly, the clouds gather, the thunder roar, and yet it stays unbothered, unchanged, infinite. Let's explore the 5 core principles that make this transformation possible. Principle 1. The illusion of control is the root of agitation. At the heart of every instance where we become angry or disturbed lies a silent demand. Life must go my way. This subtle expectation turns daily interactions into traps. If we expect to be treated kindly, the moment rudeness appears, the ego feels violated. If we expect fairness, even minor injustice ignites rage. The mind, tethered to this illusion of control, becomes fragile, forever offended, forever hurt, forever reacting. Zen invites you to release that demand. You are not the architect of others' behavior. You are not the master of every outcome. The only true mastery is of your own response. When you stop demanding life to match your preferences, anger loses its power. In letting go of control, you gain freedom, and that freedom becomes the gate to unbothered peace. Principle 2. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is wisdom. One misconception about being calm and unbothered is that it means becoming emotionless or aloof. But detachment in Zen does not mean disconnection from others. It means connection without entanglement. To be emotionally detached means to love without clinging, to listen without absorbing pain, to care without becoming consumed. It is possible to feel empathy for someone's anger and still not be pulled into it. It is possible to witness someone's hate and still not retaliate with fear. It is possible to walk through chaos and not let it enter your spirit. The mind that sees clearly knows no one's emotion needs to become your emotion. You can witness, acknowledge, respond, but remain still inside. This is not indifference. It is depth. Principle 3. When you expect nothing, you become invincible. Disappointment, irritation, jealousy, and anger, these all arise from one source: expectation. Zen teaches, expect nothing, accept everything, appreciate much. This is not weakness. It is a return to alignment with what is real. The ocean does not complain when the storm comes. The tree does not panic when the wind blows. The sun does not rage when clouds cover it. Why? Because they do not expect anything. This expectationless state creates space for joy. You begin to notice beauty in small things. You find stillness amid noise. You welcome people's kindness and let go of their cruelty, not because you're passive, but because you're rooted in the unshakable truth. Peace comes from within. Principle 4. Letting go of the me ends the war. All anger is based on one assumption. Someone has hurt me. But who is this me? Zen masters often ask. Who are you before the story, before the labels, before the pride, before the roles? What remains when the self-image softens? If you are not tied to being respected, liked, or understood, then disrespect, dislike, and misunderstanding pass right through you. This doesn't mean you do not act when injustice happens. It means you act without hatred, you speak without venom, you respond without losing your center. When the I is seen as a mental construct, anger becomes unnecessary. No one can insult emptiness. No one can offend what doesn't grasp. This is the greatest freedom, the absence of the one who must be defended. Principle 5. Every angry person is a teacher in disguise. The next time someone provokes anger, stop and ask, what is this person teaching me about my own mind? Perhaps they are showing you your impatience. Perhaps they are revealing your fear of disrespect. Perhaps they are uncovering a childhood wound. The world becomes a monastery, and people become monks in disguise, teaching you through their harsh words, their unfair actions, their unconscious behavior. When you see life this way, nothing is against you. Everything is for your awakening. The student who once struggled with anger now understood. True power is not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. Not in changing the world, but in transforming one's perception of it. And in that transformation, everything changes. We've journeyed through the Zen path to emotional freedom, from understanding the invisible chains of anger to becoming like the sky, allowing all weather to pass through without disturbance. Remember that this journey is not about reaching a perfect state where you never feel anger. It's about developing the capacity to be with anger skillfully, to learn from it, and to choose your response rather than be driven by it. Let me share a story that illustrates the real-world impact of these principles. Sarah, a corporate executive, had struggled with anger throughout her career. Her quick temper had cost her relationships and opportunities. After practicing these Zen principles for 6 months, she faced her ultimate test. A colleague publicly criticized her work during an important presentation. In the past, this would have triggered an immediate defensive reaction. But this time she paused. She breathed. She observed the rising heat in her body without judgment. And then, instead of defending or attacking, she simply asked, "Can you help me understand your perspective better?" That simple response, coming from centered awareness rather than reactivity, transformed the interaction from a potential conflict into a collaborative discussion. More importantly, it showed Sarah that she was no longer at the mercy of her emotional reactions. The DhammaMirror tells us, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. When your mind no longer seeks to fight what it doesn't control, anger fades like mist in morning light. You were not born angry. You learn to be. And so you can unlearn it too. Let every offense be your teacher. Let every emotion be your mirror. Let every irritation point to the chains you can now break. Then you will walk this world untouched, like a lotus on the surface of still waters, connected to all, disturbed by none. If you're ready to begin your journey toward emotional freedom, I invite you to join our 7 Days Zen for Emotional Peace Challenge. Each day, you'll receive a simple practice to implement, gradually building your capacity for mindful response rather than automatic reaction. To support your practice, I've created a free ebook, Zen for Busy Minds, which you can download using the link in the description. It contains additional stories, practices, and insights not covered in this video. I'd love to hear about your experiences with these principles. What situations trigger your anger? Which principle resonates most with you? Share in the comments below, and let's learn from each other's journeys. If you found value in this exploration of Zen wisdom, you might enjoy our videos on the Buddhist path to letting go and mindfulness practices for everyday life. You'll find links to these in the description. And if you're committed to transforming your relationship with difficult emotions, subscribe to our channel for weekly insights on ancient wisdom for modern living. Remember, true peace isn't found in perfect circumstances. It's discovered in how you relate to the circumstances you have. Begin today with your very next breath. Thank you for joining me on this journey from reactivity to response, from turmoil to tranquility. Until next time, may you find the space between the spark and the fire.